Hey everyone, we are back. This is our third episode on the Becoming Magnetic podcast. I'm Kai, and together with Rossalyn, we believe powerful women deserve powerful love lives.
So, in today's episode, we're exploring a truth that most of us feel, but rarely do we talk about our need for connection.
And so we're going to be exploring this whole matter of loneliness, and sometimes we hear it referred to as the loneliness epidemic. Partly, this comes from being taught to be ultra independent, and we want to talk about why needing others doesn't make you too much, and how we can actually begin to build interdependent relationships rooted in boundaries and mutual value.
We are so glad you're here. So, let's go ahead and get started.
Awesome. So, the way we've been doing these episodes is, even though the topics are independent of each other, in a way they're all connected, because we're building on this matter of how do you um, build a sense of a sense of self in a way that really attracts the things that you want in life. And we have said it starts with the end in mind. We spoke about that last week, and we're going in deeper now to talk about how how you can actually be doing the work inside the inner work to make sure that the things that you say you desire, you're actually walking that out. So when we think about the matter of loneliness, there are few statistics that jump to mind. The World Health Organization has reported that 1 in 6 people report being lonely. So, and this is independent of even speaking about romantic relationships. And when we look at the US, the Surgeon General's advisory states that lack of social connection is as harmful as smoking up to 15 cigarettes a day. And that's huge.
Yeah,
We're
that's
talking
pretty shocking.
exactly. Rosalind, I'm sure that you have a little bit more to say on that fact around, this whole matter of the loneliness and what the stats are saying around that.
Yeah, when looking into the stats, I didn't know that loneliness had been declared this global issue that the World Health Organization, our US Surgeon General, and others are looking to solution. There's also a team out of the Harvard Graduate School of Education that did a study and was looking at loneliness and making some recommendations based on their findings for how to address it. But and this is even prior to the start of the pandemic, which,
Hmm.
interestingly enough, technology, like increased use of technology,
Yeah.
was one of the factors that the Harvard team found is exacerbating this feeling of loneliness. So we shifted in that direction during that time period, and somehow it looks like we haven't been able to shift back into people interacting face to face, which is critical for our well-being.
Absolutely. And we talk about the pandemic, and there are lots of things that have come out of that period that still have ripple effects today in our individual and also much broader local, national, and global lives. And we what we see though is a pattern that perhaps was deepened during that time, where culturally we are taught that independence is the highest virtue. So we when we end up in situations where we do need someone else's help, we find it really difficult to lean into that, because what we're taught is lean on no one, do it yourself. And the what ends up happening is that teaching can unwittingly end up isolating us from the very thing that we need, which is connection. And I just,
I'm sorry, it took me a minute to come off mute there. And
oh,
that's right. Honoring our need for others really is an act of self leadership.
yeah.
It's not weakness. Our our desire for closeness is a part of the counter narrative that we're working with, which is, I guess, sort of against the grain, but very necessary for our total well being.
Yeah, and the reason that we see that show up a lot is what 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 is in effect happening, and we said it at the start about this whole matter of feeling like you're too much. If we bring it back to romantic relationships, very often, and women, as women, we're often accused of this, is this neediness. So we're wanting to connect, we're wanting to spend time with a partner, and sometimes that's labeled negatively as being needy, and that's something we want to explore today, because there is a difference between that healthy interdependence and what often ends up as being codependence in some situations, because what we're looking for through relationships, we talk about connection, but there are other things that we could be looking for. So I know that, for me, what I know I want is this safe space to be myself. So, yes, I'm looking for connection, but I'm also looking for a safe space to be myself. So, therefore, what I also need from that is this matter of trust and security. And I literally also want somebody I can hang out with and do all this stuff. I love traveling, so I want somebody who would want to travel with me and that kind of thing. And all of us have our internal list of things that we are looking for when we're looking for that connection with someone else. But very often we don't actually articulate it or verbalize it. Rosalind, I don't know, on your side, what that looks like.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I am an only child, so definitely have been accustomed to spending plenty of time in my doing my own thing in life. But I do think that it would be it would be amazing to have someone who, like you mentioned, security. That's something that's huge for me. Who you know you can rely on,
Yeah.
who will be there for you in good times and in bad, and sickness and health, that whole thing. But it's true. And who can challenge me in becoming more, um, I guess, mindful of the needs of someone else as well. Right? I want to be able to become better at studying the man who becomes my partner,
Mm.
being able to give to him as well. And of course, he's gonna get on my nerves at times. I'll get on his nerves. We love each other. I mean, that's the beauty of it.
Yeah,
That you
yeah,
try to work through little points of friction, but ultimately both of us are better for being together and more
yeah.
powerful together than we are as an island, two individuals.
Yeah, and as we're talking about this, I want our listeners to start to think about what are those things that you're actually looking for, that you need from other people, and be okay with acknowledging the fact that you actually need other people, right? Because what's often missing in our interactions is this lack of boundaries. So we want to be close with people without losing ourselves. So the way in which we do that is being clear about what we need, but also making sure that there are boundaries in place so that it allows for a much more healthy exchange. And as much as we might not like the whole matter of things, the term transaction or being transactional. At the end of the day, every relationship, there's an exchange of value. So as you're giving value, you're expecting value from other people, and that's where there's a sense of an interdependence rather than necessarily one person, i.e., you might feel that way, or you might have felt that way in other relationships. One person carrying the burden, nor is there any denying of your own needs. That's not what we're talking about. We really are talking about that healthy interdependence, healthy relationship where there's an interdependence, is an exchange of values, but there are the right boundaries in place to protect that as well. So, um, we spoke a little bit about the neediness, and I just wanted to share a little bit from my own experience. For many, many years, when back, remember when I had a spell of period where I wasn't beyond dating, really wasn't like going into relationships that I had desired. And I found myself really being afraid to talk about that, afraid to acknowledge, hey, look, I'm single. In fact, I remember there were points in times where people had assumed that I was in a relationship, and I didn't make them any the wiser, right? Because I wanted to be the kind of cool kid, the person who had been partnered. And what that stemmed from was really a fear of not being seen as normal, or what everybody else seemingly had been able to achieve. And it was very difficult because I knew I was alone, but then on top of it I was feeling lonely as a result of it. And before we did this episode, Rosalind, what I did is I looked up this whole matter of being alone versus loneliness. And one of the things that I found, Jay Shetty does a really good job of explaining this. He said, it's perfectly fine to be alone. He says, there is strength in being alone, and that strength is when you understand yourself, and when you also understand, in relation to others, what you need from them, and what it is that you're also being able to give in that exchange of value, right? And then he says loneliness is the weakness of being alone, right? Because you can be in a space where you're around a lot of people and still feel lonely. And also obviously you can be on your own physically and still feeling lonely. And he says the ability to actually be alone, understand yourself, value yourself, right? And at the same time understand what it is that you need in that exchange from others, because we have to appreciate that connection that we've been talking about doesn't only come from a romantic partner. And I think that's really important to remember, that part of being alone, a single person as your own partner, does not then equate to being loneliness. And remembering that not because you don't have a romantic partnership doesn't mean that connection value can't be found in other relationships. It's really important to have that reflection. Do I really understand myself and value myself in that way, and understand what I'm looking for from others, and what that exchange of value will look like? Rosalind, I don't know how you feel about that in terms of this matter of being alone versus being lonely, against feeling lonely.
A couple of things that stood out for me with what you were saying from your own experience. One, that being comparing our own lives to others is a dangerous
Mm,
way to go down,
always.
because what's that saying, that what glitters isn't always gold.
Oh, true. Yeah.
So I think it's important for us to be careful not to assume that just because someone is married or in a relationship that they've done the the preparatory work like we're discussing
Mm,
to set themselves up to have a healthy relationship where their needs are truly being met.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just have a warm body to go home to. That's not what we're after here. And so I'm glad that you shifted away from feeling like you needed to be able to show up and say, "Oh yeah, my boyfriend or husband, whatever it is, this and that," because there can be a stigma around it, but in my opinion, it's better to remain single in clarity, like with and have clarity about what we're looking for in the relationship dynamic in that other person, and be open and available to receive it rather than killing time with in the wrong situation. Not to say that every relationship doesn't have something to teach us, but if we just hop in out of being reactive or feeling like we need to, I don't know, compete with society standards or the fake timelines we set for ourselves, then that's not really healthy for us. The other thing that stood out for me with the what you were saying with Jay Shetty is, if we're spending time alone, having crystal clarity about who we are and what we're seeking, then we're in turn able to articulate it to that other person, like you were speaking about earlier.
Yeah.
So there is some value in that.
No, absolutely. And the the matter of the f- did you say fake timeline? um of being of being able to achieve certain things in our lives, and society's pressures or impressions of what our lives should look like. To go a step further, I remember that for me, the deal was you leave university, and straight out of university, bam, we're gonna be married within a few years, have our lovely job, lovely house, everything, and we're all on a roll, right? That's how it's supposed to happen. And as the years were going by and that didn't happen, what I then found is, because there was this um, external and internal pressure to be in that situation of marriage, the energy with which you show up in dating and relationships is quite pressured. So the focus is less on that exchange of value of, what am I seeing here? Is this really what I want in terms of a partner? And is this really where I am able to give value and add value to this person's life, right? But it's more about that end goal. It's like, well, possibly from this we can get married. And then so you show up with that kind of energy, and there were times where I could have jumped over the broom, been married, and it would have been totally the wrong situation. So thankfully that didn't happen, right? It would have been a totally wrong situation for me.
Mm.
Um, but then there are other situations where, in addition to other things that were just not in alignment, they were just not right. Again, I have to go hands up. The energy with which you were entering meant that that person could tell that you're really here trying to make something happen because of that end goal, which was selfish. Because essentially, what it is, I need to meet this need, and therefore, so just going back to this thing about really being clear about what it is that you need from others. I'm now much more honest and realistic with myself. And I'm going to touch on something which we didn't really intend to talk about, but I'll touch on a little bit. The fact that realistically, even when you have a romantic partner, you are not going to be able to meet all of those needs in that one partner. Controversial.
Like what?
Controversial. And I'll say this, and I'd love to have you jump in on this, Rossin. And I'll put it this way. Um, when we are on the one hand talking about the need for connection, and we're saying let's go deeper than that and say let's break it down. Is it trust that you need? Is it, in my case, it's trust, the security. It's the wanting to have someone to share time with, like my traveler and so on, right? Um, but beyond that, there are other things that potentially might not be the things that I can get all of these things in a partner from one person. And so am I putting too much pressure on this one person to meet this laundry list of things? Am I allowing myself to be so connected with quality, not quantity, quality relationships, that I have that sense of connection? I have that sense of self. I can be alone right now without feeling lonely. But then when I do have that connection with a partner, I'm not somehow putting on this one person, well, you need to make me happy. And here's what I need to make you make me happy. Rosalind, over to you. Controversial, I know.
Well, that's interesting. As you were speaking, I was thinking, yes. I mean, sounded sounded provocative when you know opened up, but as you talk through it, I believe I'm in agreement because I think it's important for us to distinguish between characteristics and fundamental values.
Hmm. Talk to us.
And there are things like, you know, I want them to be athletic or, you know, be a gym rat or whatever it may be, right? That's framed as characteristics. Whereas I want him to value his body, treat it as a temple, then that's moving into the realm of values. Now, that's the foundation. How he expresses that can change. He could be a gym rat. He could be into triathlons. He could be into whatever it is, but fundamentally, his value is taking care of his body and doing things to challenge himself to grow and get better and remain healthy. So I think I'm in agreement with you, right? It doesn't have to be the man that you end up with. Say, okay, both of you have the shared value, take care of the body temple, make sure that we're
Mm,
healthy. He might be into red light therapy or cold plunge visits, whereas you might express it as, okay, I'm going to go to the gym or I take Pilates, whatever. Doesn't mean you need to do those things together. And the fact that you don't do them together doesn't mean it's the end of the relationship.
amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I absolutely see that. I love how you've articulated that and really broken it down to say, these are things that you could value. The person could hold the value. It doesn't mean you have to spend all that time with the individual doing that, because you could express that in different ways. Absolutely love how you've broken that down. So, you know,
Oh, and then one more piece to that, right? So maybe it's not the romantic partner that you take the
yeah,
Pilates class with.
yes,
Maybe you and I go to Pilates class together, and then separately, if say I end up with a guy who likes, I don't know, hiking or I don't know,
yeah,
something, then I go do that with him. But we don't need to always do every, you know, check every box with just that one person. And
yeah.
this really relates back to what we were talking about earlier. Our need for others was not just about the romantic relationship in
Mm,
our lives, but
yeah,
we lived in community
yes,
with extended family being a part of the community. Yes,
yes,
family is super important, but everybody, like our coworkers, our friend group, all of those different realms of our life contribute to that total well-being with the emotional and social connections that we have.
Absolutely. And I love how you've kind of dovetailed it to that, where we're saying look beyond just the romantic connection. So if you are in this season, if you're listening to us and you're in a season where you're alone, i.e., by definition, you are single, you're by yourself, right? Doesn't mean you have to be lonely. And so, what we're encouraging you to do is to be intentional, right? Um, because you can actively cultivate relationships that do meet your needs. You can do it through friendships, you can do it through community, through different partnerships. And so to do that, we've said for this podcast that we don't want to just sit here and have a nice. In the UK, we have this expression, have a nice chin wag. I'll introduce a few Britishisms as we
Yeah,
go
I
along.
like. I'm learning all these things. I like the little phrases I'm learning from you along this journey.
um, so
And I
not
guess here we would call it a kiki.
a kiki. Okay.
Yeah.
I always thought Kiki was about just laughing. I didn't realize it was actually about having a conversation, like talking. So I've learned something new there too. Yeah, I love that. So we really want to make it practical. We want to make it be something that you can walk away with. So, Rosalind, I know we've talked about what we would love our listeners to walk away with from today's episode. And we've spoken a little bit about it, which is being intentional about knowing what it is that you want from others. And that's what we're going to be encouraging you to do. So, wherever you are, now if you're driving, please don't be trying to write this down.
Safety
You can
first.
replay.
Yeah, safety
You
first.
can replay it. But here's what we'd love to challenge you to do. All right. Make some space for yourself. Make for 5 minutes. So we always say, grab a paper and pen if you're like us who love the feel of just writing things down, or if you're going to be doing it on a laptop, a computer, whatever it is that you choose. We want you to set aside some time to write down 5 things that you genuinely need from others, right? That could look like emotional support, trust, fun, accountability, presence. Rosalind spoke earlier about this whole matter of well-being, and you know perhaps the need to share a value like that because it's so important to you that you want to be able to continue to build that out with someone else. So write down those 5 things, and it could look like this: I need trust. I need someone who checks in, or I need to feel safe being vulnerable. No one else is going to see this list but you. So feel safe to write it all down. This is not a wish list for a perfect partner. That's not what we're asking you to do. It's really a compass for your relationships so that as you're looking to connect with others in the days and weeks ahead, whether that be with new friends, yes, go make some new friends, family, colleagues, and yes, a romantic partner. You're thinking about these things and whether or not through this relationship, are you actually being able to meet those needs? Rosalind, is there anything you'd just like to add to that before we close?
I think that you really covered it with the exercise, and I just strongly encourage everyone to take some time to do that. And it doesn't need to be long. And bonus, if you even clear your mind with a meditation beforehand, and then just allow your mind to be open. and then journal it out. So, yeah, no, I hope that everyone here is leaving with the permission to honor your need for others. And then after you complete the exercise, then having the clarity to ask for the type of support, the type of engagement that you need in all of your relationships.
Absolutely. So, we want to thank you for joining us for this conversation on honoring our need for others. And as we close out, we want to remind you that we do have a community, the Becoming Magnetic community, where you can join our next cohort of women who are taking this journey on what it means to really, really honor ourselves as women who are absolutely deserving of not just powerful lives, but powerful love lives as well. Each week we go through a discussion and practical exercises, as you've seen us done here with women over a 6 week period. And there's always a bit of a bonus, a special session. We'll drop little hints about that as we go along. But it's always such a joy to see the women come in with us with very often the sense of, am I ever going to really find love? And coming out at the other end on dates, finding new ways to really step into themselves of being fully understanding of how it is to be alone and not lonely, and other women revisiting some relationships where they go, hang a second, what could I have learned from that? Or is there an opportunity for me to do this differently? Whatever it is, they come out very different. So, Rosalind, take us out.
And as Kai mentioned, you can join the wait list for our next cohort, Becoming Magnetic cohort, and be part of the community that holds space for you, not just two of us, but a community that you can go into the deep with. And so the link for that is in the show notes. We encourage you to sign up there and also subscribe or follow this channel so that you don't miss any of our upcoming episodes. So next week, Kai, should we give a little teaser?
Yes, go for it.
Okay, so we'll take one of today's needs and go deeper into it, exploring how to claim it in relationships. So make sure you've done that work before the next time. Until then, stay curious about your heart. Remember, becoming magnetic means leaning into both your strength and your individual needs.
I've been Kai
And this is Rosalind.
on the Becoming Magnetic podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Take care.